How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Listen, I want to start in sort of an unconventional way where I want to play you a clip. The clip is only 1 second long,
Okay.
and I want you to tell me what comes to mind when you hear that clip. You ready?
Okay. Do I win anything?
Yeah, I'll send you a nice tote bag.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, go. There it is. That's
Dun dun. Well, I wish that I Law and Order.
so. What comes to mind when you hear that?
When I hear it, I think justice. Justice is being served.
It's
The
pretty
city of New York is being watched.
it's pretty iconic, eh?
Oh yeah. It's insane that's I actually thought that was the theme song for like many years. I was like, they've got the simplest theme song ever.
You were not a not to say that you weren't a fan, but you weren't a great fan of Law and Order before you went into the show. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it can be a bit of both. I think for me, it depends on the type of personality you are. I think that I probably would have fallen over myself if I was like a huge fan of SVU. I would have been like, oh God, I'm freaking out because I of course had to audition for the part. I probably would have blown it because I would have had so many nerves. So I think it was helpful for me that I didn't know. I'm a huge fan of Chris Maloney's work, but didn't really know the show. I knew the original Law and Order. When that was on in repeats, I would find myself, at first you're like, oh, one episode. I'm just waiting for Mary Tyler Moore to come on. And then 6 episodes later, oh, this is riveting. I can't stop watching. So I got the merit of the show and I knew that it was great. And like, literally almost anybody that I love in terms of actors has been through has come through Law and Order somehow, some way. Viola Davis, like everyone.
Yeah, I've watched. I think I've watched like YouTube videos of like all these famous people and their first
Oh, it's
roles were
insane.
in Law and
Doing their
Order.
little cameos. Yeah.
What is it like to be part of the show now, given that it has, I'd say, one of the most intense fan bases in television?
I'd say it's really, really cool. To be part of the Dick Wolf universe. I don't think I understood what was going on. Truly. I was like, cool, it'll be a fun gig. I'll be in New York. I was more like, quite frankly, nervous about working in a pandemic. I was like, I haven't left my house in a year, so this is going to be really interesting. um, didn't really get the magnitude of what was going on even when we were shooting. um, and actually, when I landed in New York, I literally landed at the place I was staying, and I got a call saying Dick Wolf he wants to do a Zoom meeting with the cast, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I just got off a plane, whatever. And it was me. It was Dick, myself, Chris Maloney, Dylan McDermott, and Danielle Monet Truitt, and I was like, this is the cast. We're the cast. This is crazy. Wow. Hi, Dick. I was like, okay, now I think and he gave the spiel, and
I sort of see him as like a Wizard of Ozzy type figure, like I can
he
see him on some sort of like, larger than life or on some kind of throne, Game of Thrones style throne.
exactly,
Yeah.
like he's sitting on his throne. Well, like the fact I just you wonder if he even exists. I mean, he is like he's got the Midas touch. Um, he's astonishing, and he's completely down to earth, which was shocking to me because I didn't know what I was in for at all. And as he was sort of saying, hey, we are so excited that you guys are a part of this, and we're so excited for the show, and this is the most anticipated show of the season. And when you're Dick Wolf, you get to not necessarily be humble about it. He was just like, this is what everyone's waiting for. And I think that's when I got it. I was like, oh, wow, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Cool.
What's something that we might not know that's a challenge about shooting a show like this during the pandemic?
um, that's a challenge. I would say makeup and masks are a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Two great tastes that don't taste great together. Very, very hard. Also like the rules take a minute to get used to. And it's amazing that we as humans are so adaptable. Like I've been on sets for, 18 years. And in 1 year, our entire world has changed. And now, it's so funny how we've all learned to adapt. Like the cast and the crew wears masks and shields, and the cast wears masks. And and I don't know how they do it in Canada. I'm sure you guys are slightly more, you probably have it more together. But when the actors, there we go.
Got the mask, yeah.
When it's time for us to say our lines, masks come off and you hear the AD say shields down, and literally all of the crew shields down. So they're masked and shielded, and we take our stuff off, and we're the only ones, exchanging. Masks on, shields up. Yeah, it's wild. And we get tested every other day.
Oh my God. It's like something out of like a Roman, ancient Rome, if the shields go down. And
oh yeah, that's what it feels. It's really, really nutty.
I tell you what I find interesting about this, and I'll talk about the show more in a second, but in learning about you, I learned that you were very shy when you were a kid. And I know that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that someone who's very shy would go into performing and acting, because typically it's the other way. It's kids who they love attention, and that's how they get into acting. So how does a shy kid end up acting?
I think it was like out of necessity. I took an acting class because I was so painfully shy that just existing was starting to get tough.
How shy were you?
Would not talk in front. Like I wasn't. Put me in front of my best friend. I was like, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. And then she'd say, oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? You got to tell the story. And I'd go, rip it. In front of other people, I have had social anxiety. So I just figured if I take an acting class, it's going to scare the hell out of me, but it's going to challenge me to get out of my skin, out of my shell. So if I can go that far, just existing as a human will be really, really easy for me if I'm actually diving in the deep end. What I didn't anticipate was that I would actually like it. I fell in love with it, and to this day, it's unmitigated terror from time to time. You're just like, before every scene, it's still there. It's still there.
Is it the same shyness?
I would say it's ratcheted down a whole bunch because I've been repetition is a beautiful thing, because the more you do something, the easier it gets. I think it's easy for me to cover up now, but the shyness is still very much there.
But where does that come from in you? Because, most people who are shy wouldn't want to do something to challenge that, to take themselves out of that. You know what I mean? Like where does that come from in you?
I think the desire to live a full and rich life and it's funny that like as a teen, I thought, you know what, this anxiety is only going to get worse. It's going to prevent me from doing things that I really want to do. So I got to figure something out. I gotta unscare myself here. So that's hence the acting class. I was just like, something's got to give. And my mom, when I was really little, put me in modeling school for the very same reason. I was so incredibly shy. She was like, I've got to do something. I've got to do something for my kid. Otherwise she's going to be, she won't be able to function out in the world.
Is your mom still with us?
Yeah.
What's her name? What's her name?
Debbie. Tamara Taylor.
She must be proud of you.
She is. She's my best friend and biggest fan.
Well, listen, let's play a clip here right now. So this is your character, Angela Wheatley, has come home, is started to find her ex-husband, played by Dylan McDermott, waiting for her in the dark.
Okay. Who's babe?
Oh my God, damn it. Damn it, Richard, don't do that to me.
Do what? You show up at my house whenever you damn well please. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. Whoever he is, he's definitely not worth a $2,000 bottle of bourbon.
Shut up and make yourself a less expensive drink.
And let's talk about Richie's birthday.
We had to cut out some swear words in that clip. By the way, that is a new scene from Law and Order: Organized Crime. My guest is the Canadian actor Tamara Taylor. She plays Angela Wheatley in that series and in that clip. Could you tell us about the character?
Well, she is the ex-wife of the mob boss that Stabler and Bell are investigating. They're out to take him down. She is his ex-wife. She's a math professor at Columbia, so no slouch in the brain department, and is kind of on the periphery of this investigation, sort of, inadvertently involved in the whole thing.
How are you finding it with Chris Maloney? I mean, the big story of this show is that it's been 10 years since he left Law and Order SVU, and now he's back. And I should say, for people who don't follow Law and Order, he plays Stabler, and Stabler was this cornerstone character on the show. People are really excited to see him back. Strikes me as an intense fella, maybe just from his acting. How is it?
He is intense. He's also really funny. I don't know if you've seen Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, I think he's in that, isn't he?
Yeah, humping a fridge. So he's unexpectedly cool and funny and smart. He's been a pleasure to work with.
Did you tell him that you knew him from that scene in Wet Hot American Summer?
I haven't yet. Okay, so here's where the social anxiety comes in. I just haven't admitted yet that it's one of my favorite films. I'm waiting for the right time so I don't seem like a stalker creep, Hey man, I really like the humping fridge scene in Wet Hot American Summer. Yeah.
Maybe
don't know how well that would go over.
Maybe he's a big
leave out the humping fridge thing.
Maybe he's a big Canadian public radio fan.
That would be amazing. He's listening right now, and I've blown my cover.
Yeah, he's like, I knew it from the time I saw it.
See, I could tell.
And it's not just, we were talking a bit about the pandemic earlier and how that's disrupted the filming and how it's made the filming challenging, but it's also made its way into the show. Tell me a little bit about how the show. Because the whole thing about Law and Order is it's ripped from the headlines, right? So how do you guys include the pandemic in the show?
Well, it's interesting because I think one of the main storylines is that Richard Wheatley, my ex, Dylan's character, is he's jacking vaccines and selling them basically to the highest bidders. So you've got private practitioners selling vaccines for like $10,000 a pop to their rich clients, who essentially get to jump the line if they pay, which is so happening right now. I'm sure
it must be, right?
It's got to be, because when you hear of, wasn't it in Canada that the couple dressed up?
Yeah, it went up north. Yeah, I remember that.
That's shady business.
It must be fun, to be, or not fun, but at least interesting to be part of a show that has one foot in reality,
It's really cool. It's been, I like it because there's so much going on in this time. We are literally living through history, and the fact, I just love that, the civil rights movement that's happening in the States is, going to be in the history books. The pandemic's going to be in the history books. And we're not skirting around any of the issues. The fact that it's a cop show and cops are not looking so great out there right now. So that's being addressed as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because the show doesn't shy away from race and racism. It comes up on both the police side of things, the criminal side of things. How important was this for you in making the decision to be on a police sort of focused show?
It was very important to me that it was handled with an honesty and an elegance. Yeah, it absolutely needs to be addressed. On TV dramas, and the fact that Dick Wolf has literally made a living glorifying cops. Most of his shows, cops and doctors, are essential workers. The fact that this particular show, and I don't know how he's handling it, in on his other shows, but that this one is tackling it, just taking it head on. That was really important, because I don't know how much I would have wanted to be a part of something that glorified a profession that definitely has some pretty deep roots in racism.
How's the show taking it on?
Danielle Monet Truitt's character, Ayanna Bell, who is the big boss, in the episode that we're shooting right now, actually, her wife's nephew, who's a musician, just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and there's a BLM protest going on, and these guys run past him, and the police are chasing them, and the guy's around the corner, so the police catch him and beat him brutally, smash his hands, do the whole thing, basically change the trajectory of his life. And he wasn't even the right guy. He wasn't even the guy they were going after. So basically, Bell, as far as I know, is going to take on suing the police department, which could, certainly end her career. And Stabler, I think, well, I'll just leave it there. She's going to go for it.
And you're here shooting the show right now. As we're talking, Derek Chauvin is on trial for George Floyd's murder. There's outrage over the fatal shooting of Daunte Wright by a police officer in Minneapolis. Another unarmed Black person to be shot and killed by police. So what is the power of television in changing perceptions of the justice system, of the police force? The power of television in telling these stories?
Well, I think certainly via social media, we've been able to see these unfortunate events, and being able to see them has given rise to a movement that is absolutely necessary. Racism is not new, but us seeing it, up close and very, very personal is. And I think, as art always has, I think, especially television is in everyone's living room. So, people invite you in, and I think TV generally takes things on in a slightly lighter tone than movies and cable do, because they know that, there's a huge audience here. It's 18 to 80. Mm-hmm. And you've got to talk to everybody. You've got to speak to everybody without shaming people, without talking down to them, but just widening their aperture enough that they can think that they may be able to open their minds and open their eyes to things that I think prior to that, they just, thought were non-existent. So I think it's an amazing tool.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not just an emotional show to watch, but like an emotional show to work on,
Totally. And, I personally love that there was one day on set where I looked at Danielle, and she's playing the boss. I'm like, the two female leads are brown. And then, as a result of my casting, my kids are brown. So, Dylan McDermott's character is surrounded, and his new wife is brown. So he's surrounded by nothing but brown folks, which I just think is amazing. And probably, 5 years prior wouldn't have happened, but anyway, we were on set, And we just kind of looked around, all of us. It was the four ladies. And we're like, look at this. This is a moment. This is a moment. And may there be more, it was really cool.
What a journey, from someone who was, like you said, was at the frog in the cartoons, would hush up whenever anyone came around, to now not just being part of Law and Order, but what's seeming like a pretty groundbreaking Law and Order, both in terms of casting and in terms of content, in terms of the cases it covers. What's next for you? Or maybe like, what would you like your career to look like after this? Like, is there something you haven't done yet?
Oh, there's so much I haven't done yet. I feel like I'm just like, this is the tip of the iceberg. I'm definitely a late bloomer. So I'd like to do an action film. I love Kung Fu. I love graphic novels. I'm like, I think inside I'm like a 13-year-old boy. So I'd love to do something like that. And like anything that Gillian Anderson's having, I'll have. Like her career has just been incredible. I just, I'll do what she's doing.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in the X-Files reboot. It'll be great.
Exactly. I'm there. Thank you. Put that out there.
Hey, nice to talk to you.
Oh, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Tamara Taylor's the star of the new Law and Order Organized Crime. It airs on Thursdays. Tamara, what a joy.
What a joy coming back home.